Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to another meal prep video. In today's video for breakfast prep, I am excited to share a new recipe. These are oatmeal protein muffins. And then for lunch prep, it's taco casserole. I really don't have anything to do for dinner kits this week, and then my snacks are pretty much my normal snack. So if you want to see how I pull this all together, then stay with me.
It's a journey for life and I'm your ride. Hang on, we'll be long gone. Hang on.
If you're new here, welcome. My name is Kristi. I'm currently following the WW Personal Points program, but I do provide calories on my channel as well. So in today's video, like I said, it's mostly going to be kind of like a breakfast and lunch meal prep. This meal prep is very budget friendly. I know we are all kind of trying to find ways to save money with the price of gas and the price of food these days. For the breakfast and the lunch, most of the ingredients are very cheap ingredients, with the exception of protein powder. I will be using protein powder in my muffins, but you definitely don't need to put that in there. You can definitely use something else, or even just make the muffins and just do a side with eggs, maybe hard-boiled eggs or something. With very minimal modifications, this could definitely be a very budget-friendly meal prep. So if you're new to my channel, I do 6 breakfasts and 6 lunches, and no, I don't eat the same thing 6 days in a row. I have 3 for me and 3 for my husband. Sorry if the lighting's going in and out. The sun keeps coming up, then going back down. I do 3 breakfasts for me and 3 for my husband. I only meal prep out for 3 days. That gives me flexibility for the week if I want to skip one of those days. But also, not only that, I really don't like to meal prep out too far in advance. I just really like to keep the food as fresh as possible. As always, all the recipes will be linked down in the description box below. On my website for the recipes, I list the nutritional values if you're counting calories or counting your macros. And if you're following WW, there will be a link that you can click on. It will bring you to your WW app, and then you can track it from there if you want. Also, for any of the items that I use, I try to link those down below as well, like my meal prep containers, different items that I'm using throughout the meal prep. So that's enough chat for this one. Let's get started with this prep. Starting with breakfast prep, like I said, I'm going to be making oatmeal protein muffins. So I am kind of throwing these together as we go. I kind of built it into my FitnessPal and in the WW app just to kind of get an idea. So the way that I'm going to be making these, they're going to come out to 295 calories and 5 personal points, and that's for 2. I'm going to be making 12 muffins, but the serving size will be 2 muffins. So I have my oven preheating to 350 degrees, and then here I have a muffin tin that I put 12. I actually used these silicone liners, but I couldn't find one. I don't know what I did with that. I lost it some time ago, so I've got a paper liner that I'm using there as well. And then I've sprayed these with some cooking spray. So what we're going to need for this recipe is 3 cups of oats. We also need about 1.5 cups of unsweetened cashew milk. If I make any adjustments as I go, I'll be sure to let you know. And the recipe, even though it's just in this form right now, by the time you see this, I will have it on my website with the actual amounts that I'm using. For the protein, I'm going to put in 6 scoops of Vital Proteins collagen peptides. That's completely up to you. If you prefer not to use protein powder, feel free to leave that out or use whatever protein powder that you use. For the sweetener, today I'm going to be using this Lakanto maple flavored syrup. This is sweetener made with monk fruit. I'm going to use 1/2 cup of that. But if you're not concerned with calories or sugar, feel free to use some raw honey. Or you could even use just some regular monk fruit sweetener or maple syrup, whatever you want to use. But just keep in mind that the points and calories for this are based on the 1/2 cup of the Lakanto maple. We're also going to need a teaspoon of vanilla extract. In here, I have 3 tablespoons of chia seeds. I just use the Better Body organic chia seeds, which, as you can see, I need to order some more. I also have here 2 eggs, and then I'm also going to use a teaspoon of baking powder. And also I may sprinkle some cinnamon at the top. And then I am also going to be using 1/2 cup of unsweetened frozen blueberries. And then I haven't decided, I may just kind of put some fresh fruit on the top as well. Completely up to you. So this is kind of like the base ingredient, so feel free to play around with it. I'm actually considering adding some PB2 to mine. I haven't quite decided yet, so I'll decide as I go. But for the purposes of the recipe on my website, I'm just going to be using these ingredients here. So we're just going to throw everything together in a bowl. I'm going to add in the dry ingredients. So I'm going to add the oats, the 1 teaspoon of baking powder, the 6 scoops of the protein powder, and this is unflavored, this kind, and the chia seeds. And then I'm just going to mix that together. Now in a separate bowl, I'm just going to lightly beat 2 eggs. Now I'm going to add the 1.5 cups of unsweetened almond milk. I think I forgot to mention I'm using cashew milk, but almond milk, cashew milk, as long as it's unsweetened. And I'm just going to slowly stir that in. Then I'm going to add in the eggs, the teaspoon of vanilla, and then 1/2 cup of the maple syrup. So I've got a 1/4 cup here. I'm actually not sure if I have quite 1/2 cup. It's gonna be close. And then just mix that all together. I think I'm gonna add just a little bit of salt. I'm not gonna put this on the recipe though, so that's completely up to you if you wanna add that. All right, so I decided I am going to add some PB2, so I think I'm going to do 4 tablespoons. So this is not going to change the points. It is going to add 20 calories though, if you're counting calories. Because for this, for 2 tablespoons is 60 calories. I'm going to be adding 4 tablespoons, but I'm making enough for 6 servings, so it'll just be 20 calories. And then I don't know if I'm going to have to add, I don't think I'm going to have to add any more milk. So now, since I put the PB2 in there, I don't know if I really want to add the blueberries. Oh, why not? So we'll just do about 1/2 cup, and I'm just going to fold those in there. If you've followed me for some time, you know that I kind of just like to play around with recipes. I'll be sure to let you know what I thought of this one. All right, so as you can see, we have a little bit left. It would probably make 1 more, but I'm not gonna worry about it. So if you don't use the blueberries in it, I'm guessing that you would have exactly enough for the 12. In fact, this one here, I gotta take some out because I'm afraid I've overfilled that one a little bit. I don't want it to fall over the top. And then if you want, you can sprinkle it with a little bit of cinnamon. I think I'm not going to. I think with the PB2 and everything that I have in there already, I think I've probably got enough flavor. So I'm gonna pop these in my oven, 350 degrees, and I'm gonna bake them for maybe about 25 minutes. I think I'll check on them after about 20, but I think I'm gonna do them to about 25 minutes. All right, so I've got my meal prep containers ready, and these are done, but here's the thing. They actually took quite a bit longer than I planned. So I had these in the oven for 40 minutes. I think that I definitely could have taken them out at 35 though, but this is what they look like. They are kind of like almost like a cake-like consistency. And I actually ended up making an extra one. So with that extra batter that I had, I made an extra one so that I could go ahead and try it now. So they're definitely cake-like consistency. And to taste them plain like this, they have a really, I almost want to say like a earthy, healthy flavor. So if you're looking for something really super sweet, you're not going to find that in these. But keep in mind, these aren't supposed to be dessert muffins. They're supposed to be oatmeal muffins, so they should have more of a healthy flavor to them. But they definitely are good. The blueberries to me add a really nice sweetness to them, just a little bit. So I would definitely add those again. I ended up using honey on mine, and my husband used some sugar-free syrup, and he really liked these. I was surprised because usually the earthy, healthy flavors are the ones that I like, and he's usually like, yeah, they're kind of bland, but he said he really liked these, but with the maple syrup. So of course that might have made the difference. So like I said, it took mine 40 minutes, but I could have taken them out after 35. But remember, everyone's oven is different. So feel free to use the base of this recipe, play around with it, add different things to your liking. I do have to say I don't think I would like them as much without that half a cup of syrup in them, but made the way that I made them this time, I would absolutely definitely make them again. Now I'm going to go through and put them in my meal prep containers, and you can see the bottom, it's for cooking for 40 minutes, it's nowhere near overcooked. The top of it, cooking that long, kind of was a little bit of like a crust on the top, but then of course once I added the honey, that took that away. So in each meal prep container, I'm putting 1 serving, which is 2 muffins. So I'm going to use the 2 compartment containers that I have. I only have 5 of those though, so I'm using one here that has 3 compartments in it. I'm going to put the muffins in one side, and then I'm also going to add some blueberries to the other side. When I heat them, I'll just put the blueberries right on top of the muffins. And for heating them, I heat them for maybe like 30 seconds to a minute, depending on your microwave. And then I just drizzle it with some honey, or like I said, my husband used maple syrup for his. So for the points and calories on these, for WW, for my points, my personal points, they were 5 points. Keep in mind, my eggs I do count, and I also count my oatmeal. So if your oatmeal or your eggs are a 0-point food, then it's going to be less than the 5 points. And again, that's for the 2 muffins. If you're counting calories, they were 295 calories for the 2 muffins and 18 grams of protein. So that's the breakfast prep, the oatmeal protein muffins. So moving on to lunch. For lunch this week, I'm doing taco casserole. This recipe has been on my website for quite some time, but I just updated it. So if you have this printout, you may want to double check it because I have made some changes. So one of the things I did was took out the Velveeta cheese. I'm just making cheese optional. And the biggest reason that I did that is because I've been struggling with some things like Velveeta, things that are ultra processed. So I'm trying to make some changes and not have that in my recipes. So I'm listing that as optional. The other thing I did is I increased the black beans and the Rotel tomatoes. So instead of 1 can each, I'm using 2 cans. So for this recipe, you want 1 cup of dry brown rice. I'm going to be making this in my Instant Pot, and instead of using a cup of water, I'm actually going to use some broth. I just made some more bone broth recently, so I'm going to just pop one of these out. These are little 1 cup silicone. It's like a silicone soup. They're called Super Savers. I'll link them down below. So what I do is make my broth, and then I just put them in here. And then usually I take them out of here and put them in just a gallon bag, or I use my sealer and seal them individually. And that way when I need a cup of broth, I just pull it out. But since I actually just did these a couple days ago, they're still in here. So I'm going to let that sit in this bowl and just kind of melt down, because I do want this to, I may even have to microwave it. I do want this to melt before I make my rice. So if you make rice, I always suggest using some kind of broth instead of water. It just really makes it a lot better flavor. So the other thing I have here is a pound of ground turkey breast. I actually already have mine cooked. Normally for this recipe, I cook it with the vegetables, but I made a recipe using ground turkey breast last night, so I just went ahead and made enough. I had some extra that I didn't use, so I'm just going to use that in there. Also, I'm going to need an onion and some zucchini. I have 2 zucchini here. Usually I just use 1, and then I also use a can of corn, but I'm not using that can of corn today, so I'm just going to use 2 zucchini instead. I also have 6 teaspoons of taco seasoning, or about the equivalent of a half a packet. And then I have 2 cans of Rotel brand diced tomatoes and green chilies. It doesn't have to be the Rotel brand. You can use whatever brand you want. And if you are not a fan of the green chilies, feel free to just use regular diced tomatoes. And then I also have 2 cans of black beans. These you want drained and rinsed. So I actually have these in a strainer over in my sink. I've rinsed them real well. So one thing to keep in mind on this recipe, on the nutritional value, it gives sodium at 1,270, which is pretty high for sodium. But keep in mind that these calories are based on MyFitnessPal. So all I do is just put all the ingredients into MyFitnessPal, and it comes back and tells me what everything is. And when you put it in there, I think what it's doing, it's discounting the black beans for like the entire can. And since if you use these and you don't drain them, they do have a lot of sodium in them. So if you're draining these and rinsing these real well, I am assuming that that's going to reduce that sodium. So the points and calories on this are 339. This is going to make enough for 6 servings, so 339 calories per serving. And for the points for me, for my personal points, it's 5. So as always, on my recipe on the website, there will be a link for WW. You just click on that, it'll bring you to your WW app, and you can figure out what the points are for you. So the first thing I'm going to do is get my rice started. So I'm going to put the 1 cup of broth in there and the rice. So now just take the rice and kind of just push it down so that it's pretty much in the broth. Just try and spread it evenly over the bottom. And put my top on there, and mine automatically seals. So I have the Instant Pot Duo Crisp with air fryer, so it automatically seals. You don't have to turn the vent thing to sealing. And I have my little Nelson guy here. This is basically a steam diverter, so when I let the steam out at the end, the steam comes out the side rather than going up into the bottom of my cabinets. So now I'm going to do pressure cook on high, and I'm going to do it for about 15 minutes, and then I'm going to let it naturally release for 5 to 10. Okay, while the rice gets cooking, now I'm just going to cut up my zucchini and onion. So for the zucchini, I've already washed these real good. I'm going to leave the skins on, and I'm just going to cut it into 4 that way, and then pieces probably about like that. Over on my stove, I have a large skillet that I've sprayed with some cooking spray. I have that over medium-high heat. So I'm just going to get my onion and zucchini in there and get that sauteing. I'm going to add some black pepper. I'm not going to add any salt though, since I'm going to be adding the taco seasoning mix, and then just because of the sodium that's in the canned items, I'm not going to add any salt, but I may add it the day that we eat it, depending how it tastes. So normally I would only cook this for about 3 minutes, and then I would add the turkey, but since the turkey's already cooked, I'm just going to continue cooking this, and then I'll just add this at the end when this is almost done. Alright, so you missed me putting water in here. I thought my camera was on and it wasn't. What I've done, this was sauteing pretty good, but I didn't need to really saute it anymore. I just want the zucchini to get a little bit more soft than it is. So I added in about 1 to 2 tablespoons of water, and I'm just going to cover it and just let it sit and simmer for a little bit until that zucchini is softened. Alright, so now I have added in the ground turkey. And I added in a little bit more water just so that that doesn't really saute a lot. Since the ground turkey is already cooked, it's not going to let out much fat, which with turkey breast, it doesn't really let much fat out anyway. Now I'm going to add in the 6 teaspoons of taco seasoning. And then just stir that until that's well combined. So what you would do if your turkey breast was not already cooked, then you would continue cooking your turkey breast until it's all, no longer pink, and then add in the taco seasoning. You want to add in the taco seasoning after the turkey is cooked. So now you would add your corn and black beans, which if I was using corn, I would have the corn mixed in with my black beans, but since I'm not using corn, it's just the black beans. And feel free to use, if you have the time, feel free to use regular black beans and soak them overnight and cook them yourself if you don't like to use the canned ones. And then we're going to add in the tomatoes. And then just carefully mix that in. I think I should have probably used a bigger skillet. This is the size skillet I used to use for this, but since I've increased the amount of black beans and tomatoes, that's probably why. And also, this can easily be made into a vegetarian meal. If you don't want to use the turkey, you're going to get quite a bit of protein and fiber and good nutrition from the black beans as well. So just mix that together, and at this point I'm going to shut my burner off because I really don't need to heat it through because I'm going to be putting this in the oven. So over here I have a 13 by 9 inch baking pan, and I have that sprayed with cooking spray. And then I have my oven preheated to 350 degrees. I basically just left it on from when I did the breakfast. And when the rice is done, I'm just gonna put that in the bottom of the prepared pan and just pour this right over top of it. And then we're just gonna put that in the oven for about 30 minutes. All right, so I'm gonna let that sit and wait for my rice to get done. So once your rice is done, make sure to let the rest of the pressure out. I didn't have much pressure left in mine because of it naturally releasing. So now just kind of take a wooden spoon and fluff up that rice. And then take the prepared pan. I've sprayed a 13 by 9 inch pan with cooking spray, and I'm just gonna dump the rice in the bottom and spread it out. And then I'm just gonna take everything in that pan in the skillet and just dump it right over the top of it. Spread that all around. And then, like I said, this is gonna go in the oven for 30 minutes. If you wanna add cheese at this point, you can. That's completely up to you. Like I said, I'm just doing it this way. Once it comes out of the oven, I just portion out into 6 portions. I just kind of take a spatula and cut it down, put it into 6 portions and put it in my meal prep containers. And it makes a pretty good amount. This is a good amount of food for 1 serving. So this is what the serving size looks like. For the calories on this, it's 339. And for the WW personal points, for me, it's 5. Keep in mind, my turkey breast is 0, but I do count my brown rice and I do count my beans. But as always, there'll be a link on the website that will bring you to WW so you can see what your personal points are. So here's one of the things about this. You honestly don't really have to bake it or even bake it that long. I just prefer to have my vegetables cooked real well. So that's just completely a personal choice. So now what I usually do is you can top these with whatever you want. I do like to add a little bit of avocado to mine once in a while. You can also add some sour cream. My husband likes to put taco sauce on his. I actually used some spinach artichoke tzatziki sauce on mine one day. That was really good. So lots of options for you to make this your own. So that's our lunch prep, the taco casserole. So now, as far as dinner kits and snacks, usually I move on to dinner kits now and then I move on to snacks. For dinner kits this week, I didn't really have any to put together, but let me share with you what I did do. As far as dinners this week, I'm gonna be doing a whole chicken in the crock pot. I'm just gonna put chicken, potatoes, and carrots in there, which is a very cheap meal. And then one night we're gonna do kind of like loaded baked potatoes. Just take a baked potato, and I usually use ground chicken or something on top of it with some vegetables, maybe some broccoli, cooked broccoli. We just kind of load up the potatoes with vegetables and protein, really good. And then tomorrow night, on Monday night, we're gonna be having leftovers from tonight. I'm doing a pasta tonight, so we're gonna have leftovers tomorrow. So what I did for a little bit of dinner prep, a lot of you know I do my carrot sticks and I just put them here in this water and I snack on that all throughout the week. That's why I put those in water, is just because I'm constantly opening my fridge and grabbing some. I love those with the garlic hummus, so good. So what I did here is for these two, these are gonna go in the slow cooker. So I just peeled the carrots already. I like to use whole potatoes like in the bag. I peeled them already and just sliced them up. I put them in some water. I'll let those just sit in my fridge, and then that way when I make the chicken Tuesday morning, all I have to do is pull those out of my fridge, and those are already peeled, cut up, and ready for me to put them right in the crock pot, and then I can just wash my potatoes and cut those up and put my chicken in there. So just a little bit of prep work for dinner this week. And moving on to snacks. For snacks this week, I pretty much every single week have been having carrots and hummus. Just really enjoy that as a snack. That garlic hummus from Aldi is so good. 2 points for 2 tablespoons or 70 calories. I also have some cottage cheese down there that I can use, and back there I have some cucumber. The cucumber I was actually planning on doing as a side with the lunch, but then I decided way too many vegetables. I had plenty enough in those lunches, so I'll just use the cucumbers, slice them up, and have like salad dressing or olive oil with them. I also have my fruit. I have some bananas, I have apples, I have kiwi. I also have a couple avocados. Sometimes I might have avocado toast just as a snack. And then back there we have some Baby Bell cheese. Those are just the regular full fat cheese. They're not the light. Those are 3 points or 70 calories each. So that's my meal prep for this week. I hope you liked it. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you're new, I hope you'll subscribe. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you in my next one.